Welcome to another offline Unmatched video. This match is a bit higher profile than all other offline videos so far, and is the grand finals of the 72-player All Aboard Expo Unmatched tournament here in the Philippines. To the left, we have Haince playing Golden Bat, a top-tier fighter from the Tails to Amaze set, who hits extra hard if he hasn't maneuvered yet. To the right, we have Drew playing Aridin, a newer fighter from the Realms Fall Witcher set who barrages the opponent with his swarm of goons before enraging like Achilles. Immediately, we see Haynes maneuver in and attack one of the riders. Aridin takes as he usually does, revealing that the attack was a punch to shake the earth, which immediately pings one and kills off all of the riders and enraging Aridin. This is an incredibly risky maneuver, one that I can only imagine Haynes or Golden Bat doing if he has practiced with the matchup before. Usually Aridin has to work to get enraged, and an insta-enraged Aridin is a fighter most characters can't deal with. In response, Aridin maneuvers taking the high ground, and attacks with a 5-value Implacable into a 5-value defense. Aridin boosts the attack up to a 9, meaning Golden Bat still takes 4 damage through his strongest defense. All in all, it isn't the worst thing in the world for Golden Bat, and I don't think Haynes would have done the first turn insta-wipe if he didn't have the 5 to defend with in his hand. Golden Bat maneuvers away, taking the high ground. By the nature of Golden Bat's deck, the opponent will usually be the one forced to approach, which is very good given the high ground bonuses of the map. Aridin follows suit and attacks. He reveals a 3-value Brutal Strike into a skirmish, meaning that Golden Bat wins the combat. He chooses not to move Aridin, and as we can see Golden Bat's hand, we have a good reason to know why. He attacks with an 8-value Super Strength into a 4-value Wild Hunt, meaning Aridin takes 4 and GB takes 2. Since the video was taken from Heinz's perspective, we can see that it doesn't have very good defenses for the next attack just yet. For his turn, Aridin double maneuvers. We don't know what's in Aridin's hand, but this turn would have been a good chance to hit hard since we know Golden Bat can't defend very well. Golden Bat maneuvers and discards a punch and the sight beyond sight. GB can play the fatigue game very well, in part because he has a lot of junk cards to throw away. Aridin maneuvers to one of the centers of the map, and we can see that he attacks with a foul purpose. GB defends with a terrifying roar, meaning he takes 1 damage through. Golden Bat maneuvers in, and we can see GB contemplate attacking. But he decides to maneuver again and take up the high ground, repeating the cycle that has been going on so far in this game. Aridin maneuvers in and attacks with a backhand into an imposing presence, dealing 2 damage but missing out on a discard effect. Golden Bat attacks with a 5-value Vaporizing I-Beams into a 5-value skirmish, meaning Aridin prevents a double attack and gets to move away. Vaporizing randomly discards Unyielding Hordes, one of Aridin's worst cards, especially now that there are no more red riders left on the board. The initiative-focused gameplay Haynes and GB are trying to do appears to be working, as every time he attacks, Aridin has to deal with a +3 instead of a normal +2. Aridin boosts in with a portal defense, which at this point he probably doesn't want to defend with anymore because of the damage he'll take. Although the card draw wouldn't be the worst since it'll help him keep up the pressure. Aridin attacks with a 4 value Implacable into a skirmish, which is boosted up to an 8. Imagine if Golden Bat couldn't defend with his 2 best defense cards in these 2 Implacable attacks though. Golden Bat attacks with a 5 value Vaporizing I-Beam into an Implacable. Drew manages to boost it with another portal defense, but all in all being forced to defend with an Implacable feels very bad for Aridin because it's his single strongest attack card. Haince double attacks with another Vaporizing I-Beam which is fully blocked by a skirmish. Drew started the turn with 5 cards, and after everything he has no more cards left. For what it's worth, Aridin's hand earlier wasn't the best either, but losing that much value hurts. And if he had managed to feint those attacks or use the skirmish first turn to stop the double attack instead, he would be in a much better position. The players count out their decks, but Golden Bat usually wins in fatigue situations unless dealing with another character who can play fatigue very well. Notably, Drew hasn't used any schemes or portal defense for card draw, so he's keeping up in fatigue as best as he possibly can. Haince uses an arrive just in time, placing GB next to Aridin. He attacks with a 6 value like a Flash of Golden Light into a 4 value Wild Hunt, dealing 2 and taking 2 as well. He returns back to his previous position, 4 spaces away from Aridin, and forcing a boost if he wants to approach. Drew just stays in place and double maneuvers however. Golden Bat uses Alpine Fortress and cycles back a skirmish, the in-between option for both of GB's other 5 value cards. Here, both players take their time and stay in place. At this point, one of the players was inevitably losing in fatigue, so someone had to start approaching sooner or later. Something to note about Eredin's positioning. The spaces below and to the right of him are the 2 centers of the map. If Eredin moves to those spaces, he will have to boost less to approach Golden Bat. However, this also means that GB can do an arrive into the central high ground and do a sneaky +1 attack. Regardless, the maneuvering standoff continues. Golden Bat uses another Alpine Fortress to get he laughs at your feebleness, which is Golden Bat's strongest value defense. With no more Implacables in play, unless Drew somehow manages to get the high ground, the highest value attack he can do is a 5, which feebleness fully blocks. GB overdraws and discards a Flash of Golden Light. However, at this point, it isn't that big of a problem anymore. Eredin attacks with a foul purpose into a skirmish. Skirmish wins the combat and moves Aridin down to a low ground space. At this point, Haynes takes a moment to calculate his next action. I've started including the timestamp on the bottom right of the video so you can follow how much time each game or turn takes to finish. For context, this tournament in the Philippines had the highest player count we've ever seen in a local tourney with 72 players. And these 2 grand finalists have been playing since 12 noon. This game took place at 9 PM, with both players having played a total of 7 games prior to this one, between the Swiss rounds and the top 16 single bracket games. So you can try to guess the amount of mental fatigue both players might be experiencing at this point. The players take a lot of time determining their next action. Aridin still has one Wild Hunt left, which he'll most likely use on defense. This makes sure that it isn't cancelled by an after combat movement or by a feint. And this also means Golden Bat is effectively playing with 1 HP left. Even though, both players still have a chance to win this game even this far in. With Aridin being enraged so early and the game reaching so late, it's surprising that Golden Bat has managed to withstand a game-long barrage from enraged Aridin. While Aridin's place in the meta is a bit less certain given his new status in the scene, it's interesting that even when enraged from the very first turn, Golden Bat can still handle him decently enough. Haince takes back a super strength and deliberates on what to do next. Drew cuts and shuffles the deck, and we see Haince approach. He attacks with a 6 value flash of Golden Light into a 4 value Wild Hunt. At this point, Aridin has 3 HP left, while Golden Bat only has 1. Aridin just needs to do 1 more damage to finish the game, but with no more Implacables and Wild Hunts, he'll have to work to get it. The time starts ticking away, and from what I understand, if Drew fails to approach at this point, GB will both find this win condition in his 2 5 value attacks and defenses, and Aridin will lose to fatigue. Importantly, if Golden Bat can attack with another 8 value super strength, Aridin is guaranteed to lose as he can only block up to a 4. Golden Bat goes to the high ground near Aridin, overdrawing and discarding a terrifying roar. This positioning is basically begging Aridin to come in and attack, and the timer starts ticking for Drew instead. The video will cut off for a bit here as Sean's phone, with Sean being the person recording the game for me, runs out of memory. However, all that we miss is basically Aridin maneuvering in and attacking. I'll let the rest of the video play out the finish for what is all in all a great grand finals worthy match. If you like the video, like and subscribe, and enjoy.
What? Attack! Ganda!
Bukan! Haince! You're Haince? Congratulations!
Calculated.
Wow. Kaya nagtagal ako ng 4 minutes doon. Inisip ko yun lang yung win con ko eh.
Nung 6 ka pa lang.
Delikado.
Nanalo na naman.
Hindi, yung 6, yung 3 ka pa lang. Sabi ko ano.
Face of defeat.
Talo ako?
Hindi, panalo. May dalawa ka pang flash eh.
Ganda! Ganda na nga. Yan talaga na ito, no?
Ha?
Lugi ako. Pag tumambay ako, lugi ako.
Wala
Kulang ako 1
ano
each.
pa ako, may pass pa ako eh.
Kulang ako 1 each.
Arrive 5 lang, panalo
Kaya,
ka.
hindi
Hindi.
ko kasi pwede gawin.